Hello everyone, welcome. Today's stream will be about configuring RealWorld Paint and other RealWorld software, and I would like to first focus on batch operations. Batch processing is new it was not in the last version in 2013. And will be available in the future version, and it is of course available in the preview builds. So configuring, we will first configure a batch operation that works with images, and I will gradually make it more and more complicated and more powerful. But first we have one question. When will JPEG XL support be added? So JPEG XL, I didn't even know this image format until you asked. But it seems adding support for this image format will not be difficult because there seems to be a reference implementation. So it can be added, I don't know how, maybe in 1 week, but the question is whether it should be added now. I will check how difficult or whether the reference implementation requires, for example, a new C++ compiler, because I'm still using an old one. If the reference implementation requires a new compiler, then it will be added in the version after this one, after I update the build environment and everything will be compatible. So of course we should first check whether the new format is significantly better than the currently used ones, and if it is, then the plugin for this will be added. So back to configuration. Maybe before that we can check the changes that were made in the last 3 weeks. So I'm currently recreating the icons for the most common operations. As you know, in the past I preferred this 3D style that was modern in the Windows 7 times, and I still like these icons more than I like the new 2D vector icons that are modern today. But the style is changing, so I will accommodate the changes. And you can see these are not final icons, but some of them were adjusted and converted to the 2D formats. One more thing that was changed is there are not here, but okay, there will be new commands in this menu, and I will show you how to work with the configuration of this window and how to add new buttons to toolbars or new items to the main menu. So you click on Tools and go to Application Options. On this tab you enable the last checkbox, Show Menu Commands for Layout Control, and click OK. When you do this, there will be new items added to the Tools menu. And let me quickly uncheck it. Yeah, even if it's not enabled, you can still click right click on a toolbar, or you can right click on a tab to display configuration, for example for this tab. But if it's enabled, then these added items allow you to access the whole configuration at once. So the most commonly used item is this configure layout. This will open the configuration for the layout of this whole window, and it consists of three main sections: the window layout, menu configuration, and this is the name of the layout and for what kind of documents it should be used. Here is a list of document types that are supported in this application. If you are using the icon editor or the cursor editor, there will be more, there will be cursors or icons, but we are using Paint and that is focused on images. But you can still see there are quite a lot of document types that are supported. Layered image is the main document type for images that are not animated, and they contain of course layers, and the layers can be raster layers, vector layers, maybe more with some plugins. Beside that, we support animated images, and these are images that contain a sequence of frames, and each of the frame is a layered image. You can also work directly with binary data and with text. And this is not really an image type, it's a saved layer style in a sense. So let's go to the menu configuration, and you can see that here is a list of items that are used to create the main menu here on the top by the top of the window. And the first one is selected, and you can see that it is a pop-up menu and its name is File, and inside it is a list of commands, and here when you click on it you zoom in. Previously we were here and now we are here. When I clicked on the sub window, it zoomed on the sub window, and this is the list of commands in the File menu. But let me go to the Edit menu, because that is what I wanted to show you. Here again is a list of commands in the Edit menu. When I click on the plus sign, a new command will be added, and here I can change its type. So I would like to add a separator, and then I add another command, and this time I will add a new command that was added 2 weeks ago, and that is application edit delete. Let me duplicate that item and change the second one to duplicate command. So now I click OK, and now the edit menu contains these two new commands. And I've been redesigning the internals of RealWorld Paint to support delete and duplicate commands in a unified way. It may not appear the clipboard operations cut, copy, paste, and these two select all and invert selection were handled in the unified way before, and in the future version also delete and duplicate will be handled in the same way as these clipboard commands were handled. And how do they function? It may appear simple, but it's not as simple as it appears, of course. So when you are in an application and you hit Ctrl+C, you expect the selected item to be copied and placed onto the clipboard. But what is the selected item? When I, for example, select this color code and hit Ctrl+C, and then I open Notepad, you can see that the color code was copied as text. But if I, for example, select part of this image and hit Ctrl+C, then you expect that the image will be placed on the clipboard, and when I press Ctrl+V, then the contents of the clipboard are somehow put back into the application. But in the application there can be different things selected. For example, when I click here on the layers panel and click Ctrl+C, and let me make it more complicated. What if I have this floating selection here? When I previously clicked Ctrl+C here, this floating selection was copied. When I click on the layers panel and click Ctrl+C, then it should be the whole layer that is copied. What happens when I now move this selection and click Ctrl+V? You can make a guess. So if I do it, you can see that previously the whole layer was copied when we clicked here, and when I was on the canvas was the main window of the application and pasted the clipboard contents, then the whole layer was pasted. But what happens when I currently the whole layer is still on the clipboard. When I click here and click Ctrl+V, you can see that the layer was pasted here. So the application tries to it has a pretty hard time to read the user's mind and do what he expects. Well, let me tell you how these commands are processed. So when you click, for example, Ctrl+C, copy, it will scan the whole window, this one, and ask each sub-window whether maybe it will whether the sub-window is focused. That means that the user interacted with it recently. When I click here on the canvas, the canvas has focus. When I click on the layers panel, the layers panel has focus. When I click, for example, here somewhere, then this brush panel has focus. So when when the program tries to process for example, the paste command, it will ask the active window, the focused window, whether it can work with the content on the clipboard. If it can work with that content, it will let the focus window handle it. So if an image is on the clipboard and I press Ctrl V while this brush configuration has focus, you can see that it does not work. But what if there are multiple windows that can handle something? Both this layers panel and this canvas can handle an image that is on the clipboard. Then neither of them has focus. Then each of these sub-windows has a priority assigned to it, and the window with the highest priority wins. Ordinarily, for example, when I press Ctrl V now, the canvas has higher priority than the list of layers, so it will win and it will do this paste operation. Okay, this mechanism can be quite complicated. For example, let me create a vector layer and then draw something in the vector layer, and now we can copy this circle as a vector object. When I click here and click paste, what do you think will happen? Will it be pasted as a new layer or not? We can try. As you can see, it was not pasted as a new layer because this panel cannot handle the type of object that is a vector shape. It can only work with whole images. On the other hand, when I copy this whole vector layer and click here, you can see that a new layer was added despite this window having the focus, because the vector canvas cannot work with whole layers. In case of the raster layers, raster images, it was something else because both of them are equal or almost the same. In case of vector images and vector objects, they are not the same. So this is quite confusing, and it can be even more complicated when we work with animation instead of just images, because in addition to raster layers, vector layers, objects, you also have frames that can be copied on the clipboard. And the things are even more complicated. What if you select multiple things, for example in this layer, and you click copy? Let me, instead of the keyboard accelerators, use these new icons. When I click copy and then paste, you can see that both layers were copied and pasted. Okay, and to make this rather complicated mechanisms more easy for the user, you can see that these icons are changing sometimes. When I'm clicking in various sub windows, these small icons represent what will happen, and you also have these tooltips. Because this window has focus, when I click copy, I will copy the objects. But because we have layers on the clipboard, when I click paste, and this window cannot handle whole layers, then this panel will actually do the pasting operation. But as you can see, the copy operation changes and these icons changes. These icons will change even more in the future. I am redesigning them. And this rather complicated mechanism will be applied to these delete and duplicate operations in the future. You can see, for example, here it reads delete layers and it has the delete key as keyboard accelerator. So the delete key will be universal in the future version. I can click delete and it will delete the selected layers like this. Okay, and similarly this duplicate command. So this is a unification that is still work in progress, and it will apply to layers, vector objects, animation frames, and in case of icon and cursor editors for whole icons and so on. Okay, so you saw me how I added these commands to the main menu here, and if I wanted, I could add these delete, and you can see in this version, as I have made some changes, the configuration is actually wrong. What I want here is a command where I'm here. So I've right-clicked on the panel. I can also right-click on this toolbar and configure just the toolbar. That will be easier. So you can see that the toolbar commands are handled by this command list, and it contains these 6 subcommands. The first one creates layers. This is an identifier of the currently selected layer. And here are some more options. You can see what this option controls what will be the default type of layer that will be added, and this controls how the command should look like. I can change it to just show you. If I change it to direct, you can see that we now have 2 buttons. The first one adds a vector layer, and the second one adds a raster layer. So let me put it back. This one always shows a submenu. The icons will change a bit. This one is the default one, I think the best one for this. You can click this first portion of the button to add a vector layer right now, but if you click the small portion, you can change what layer type you are adding. So this is all the configuration. That's the configuration of this one menu command that is for adding layers. And this one, the current one, actually, when I add raster layer, the default will change to raster layer. When I add a vector layer, it will change again. If I change this to fixed option, then the default will not change, and for example, this way, this will always add a vector layer, and when I want to add a raster layer, I have to go to the submenu, but the default will remain as vector. So you can customize this button and as you like, and as is more productive for you. The second item, let me tell you one more thing. Each of these items can generate any number of actual buttons in the toolbar or items in menu. As you saw, this one controls this toggle group button. This one we want to change. We actually want to use the new where is it? Delete. I can duplicate this item and change the second one to duplicate. And as you can see, now we have delete layers and duplicate layers added to the toolbar. And these are very similar as these other, but since this toolbar, let me talk about the hierarchy. This whole panel is a sub window of the main window. It has tabs, and inside the tab is this toolbar. Let me show you the configuration of the whole tab. You can see that the internal view is set to toolbar, and toolbar view or sub window has two parts. The first one is the content of the actual toolbar, and you can actually have multiple toolbars. I can show you that. So if I add a toolbar, and I can then add some commands to this toolbar, some whatever clipboard, you can see now we have two toolbars here. So you can do many things. Let me remove it. So the toolbar view has this section that controls the items in the toolbar, and the second section that controls the remaining area of the panel. So it contains a tree representation of something. And when the commands here in this toolbar are interacting with the windows of the other windows, they can only directly interact with this sub-window. That means that this command, this delete, will always delete layers, even if, for example, the canvas has focus and we are in a empty layer. Even if this canvas has focus and the delete or if it were a clipboard command would apply to this, then this button will always only apply to the sub window of the toolbar view. So we can continue. Maybe we want to have a separator here in the toolbar, so you can add a command and change it to separator. Maybe you want to remove this this button that previously controlled the layer styles that is not used. you can remove it. Let me maybe duplicate the separator, add another one here, and you can see this is how we modified this toolbar to work with the layers. And you can do this for mostly any button you can see here. You can change, for example, let me change some properties of this sub window here. So this is a 3 representation of some structured data, in this case the structure of the layers. And you can change here whether you want thumbnails or just icons. Let's try what happens if we choose small icons. And now we have the structure of the documents, but with no thumbnails, but just icons that represents the type of the layer. You probably want the thumbnails, so let me change it back. You can choose whether you want to show these lines. You probably won't, because in the current version we support layer groups and you want to see the structure. And you can select what happens when you press a key. Right now it is set to rename the layer, so it will start editing the layer name, but you can change it to just jump to a layer that starts with the letter you have pressed. And here you have the configuration for the context menu that is shown when you right click here on a layer. One more thing that you may have noticed, previously when you created a new layer it was called unnamed, and now it's called layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be in the future. This new naming will be also applied to objects in vector layers, but it is not yet complete. So here is a configuration of that context menu, and you can see the first item is a pop-up menu that's called blending mode, and here is the configuration of that pop-up menu. The commands in the pop-up menu are controlled by this setting, and here you can see these are all the commands that are available, that were available in other. This is the same list of commands. This one shows you the blending modes as menu items, and when you click on them it will change the blending mode for the layers that are selected. And here we again see this selection synchronization ID called layer. Why do we need this? Maybe I should explain it now. So when you open a file in RealWorld Paint or other RealWorld software, the application reads the document data and shows you something on the screen. But in order to show you something here, for example, you have to be able to choose what is selected. And when I select something here, it should also be selected in this other sub window. And when I change the selection here, it also changes in this window here. and somehow this state of the application have to be sent from this window to that window, and from this window to this window, and to any window that is interested in receiving these notifications, because it has to then redraw, update itself. So the window holds the open document, and it also holds the list of states, and each state has an ID. There is a state for layer selection. There is a state for this vector object selection. There is a state for this not for this floating selection, but there is a state for this regular selection. So this area is now selected, and the other part of the window is not selected. When I do this, you can see that only the selected part is moving. So there are these multiple states that hold parts of the selection, and these states have IDs, and when two windows want to stay synchronized, they have to use the same ID. One window sets, for example this one, that the current layer, that this is the currently selected layer. So it takes the ID of the layer and saves it into the layer state, because it is configured to do so. As you can see, this is part of the configuration of this tree view, and when you click on a layer, then it will save that ID of the layer into this layer state. And other parts of the configuration, for example this command that changes the blending mode, needs to know for which layer it has to change the blending mode. So it intentionally uses the same ID. And when I select multiple layers, right click on them and change their blending mode, you can see that for both of them the blending mode was changed, because when the command was executed, it read the state from the layer state, of course, and applied this new blending mode to those layers. So let's continue with the configuration. The second item in the context menu is called Basic Styles, and it contains a list of, not just, it is a pop-up menu. It means that it will show a submenu, and it contains a list of layers, and it contains 4 items called layered image toggle effect, and each of them is configured to toggle a different effect. Here is again a list of effects. Some don't have names and the others have. Here is again the ID of the layer to toggle the effect on, and when I right click and select bevel, it will add a bevel effect to this layer. This toggle command works in both ways. When I toggle it, execute it again, it will remove it. This is how the, where were we? Here. This is how this toggle effect works. You can add, if you want, more of these. Probably the better way would be to duplicate the last one and then select, I don't know, something else setting. So I click OK, and now when I right click here, I will be able to quickly add and remove this effect. It's all in your hands. So what else is there in that context menu? Here we are. Here is another item that's related to layer styles, and in this case it adds a modifier, the fade effects. We have talked about it in the past. Here is a specialized item that deletes effects, but I will delete this from here. You can delete it like this, delete effect. And why have I deleted it? Because I have talked a moment ago that the delete command will be unified. As you can see right now, when the layer is selected, it reads delete layers, also here in the main menu. And when I select the item, the image effect, it will change the icon to the effect icon with a cross to indicate its delete operation, and it will read delete effects, and the same here in the main menu. So this is the simplification I'm currently working on. If we want to still have delete in the context menu, we can add it to the context menu. I think you already know how to do it. Let me make it a bit. So let's, for example, duplicate this separator. Let's say we want to have it here. We will go to Application, Edit, Delete. Click OK, and now we will have a delete command in the context menu. And when we are here, when the style is selected, it will read delete effects. And it will work if you have multiple effects and select all of them, it will read delete effects, delete them. So, is there anything else interesting in this context menu? I don't think so. These are just the commands we have already seen before. Maybe we can stop for a while on this rasterize layer command. So, the type of the command, you can see these specialized commands here. Usually they are named according to the type of the document they are working with. So you have the ones that are applicable to layered image, grouped. Here are the ones that are special working with the raster images. But right on the start of the list you have 4 or 3 very special menu commands, plugins. These are also, all of these are plugins. The command list just says that instead of a single item that handles the menu commands, you want to have multiple. It's usually used inside a pop-up menu, inside a sub-menu. The second, the last one is the pop-up menu that will create an item with a sub-menu, and this one, the document operation, is a specialized command that allows you to access the plugins of a different type, and you may notice that there are no image effects here, the classic image effects like bevel, drop shadow, and these, because they are not of the type of menu commands. They are of type document operation. So, and when you are doing a document operation, you have to choose the name of the menu item or the button. You can choose an icon for it, and here is a description that will be shown in the status bar. And finally, you have to choose the actual operation that will be performed. And here you can see the familiar raster image operations and also other ones, operations with animations, common operations that are applicable on any document type, and operation with vector images. And if you are using cursor editor or icon editor, you will also see other operations specialized for working with icons and cursors. So that's it. Currently we are using a rasterize layer document operation that transforms any image to a raster image, and really a raster image. Because this transformation, the image to raster image, is also used in some different places, but this takes the current layer and changes its type to a raster layer. Okay. When you want to configure the main menu, you have seen before that this is the configuration of the whole main menu. This is the file menu. It has a command list with, you can click on this operation one by one. It should be obvious what they do. Sometimes it won't be that obvious. For example, let's have a look on this command item number 4. So let's zoom in. So it reads raster image work with selection. The first item is called image mask, and it is state ID for that image. So it extracts the selection from the image and applies this operation on that selection. So the command is a document operation. This is the name for it, description, and it saves, it invokes this document save operation. When we look at this item, is this one? No, it's not currently visible. It's only visible when we switch to a raster layer and we select part of the raster layer. Now it will appear. It was called save selected area, and when we click it, it shows you the save window, and this will export this selected area as an image. So you can see that these commands are they are put together by the configuration. There are building blocks in the RealWorld Paint in the whole system, and the configuration brings these building blocks together, and depending on how they are brought together, you can perform different functions. So let's continue. The edit menu we have already seen. The next one is the view menu. It's not very important, but you can also see here these state IDs. For example, in this case, the state contains just one bit that indicates whether the toolbar is visible or hidden, and this command changes the state and inverts the bit. Similarly, this commands controls parts of the view, the layers panel, and the drawing command panel, that is this one here. And when this, let me show it, what we were looking for, produce these two menu items, and when I click on them, it will change the state, and the layer panel will be shown or hidden. Similarly with this command panel. So here is the view. This sub-window is one plugin, the command is another plugin. They communicate using the state with the given ID, and they work together as you would want them to. Similarly for this controls the view at the zoom level of this view. They again communicate via state ID. So what else is here? Here is the image menu, and you can see it is a list of items. The first one is canvas size, the second one is remove borders. Maybe let's look at the canvas size. Here is the name, description, icon of the menu item, and then there is the operation is set to display configuration. We have already seen multiple times that some of the items in these combo boxes have these double arrows, and that indicates that they are somehow special. So the operation that is invoked when you click on the menu item is called display configuration, and this one has two parts. First, it has the caption of the dialog window and the icon, and then it has a configuration of what is actually to be done. So it has you are not surprised that it uses the raster image canvas size operation, and this is the configuration of the canvas size plugin. You can control how is the canvas size changed and alignment of the original content. Okay, and this right part controls the preview that is shown to you when the operation is invoked. So you can see that the view type will be image viewer. here's the background color, and so on. And when you click on the canvas size, you can see that a dialog window is displayed. It has this caption, this icon. Here is the configuration of the canvas size of operation, and here is the image viewer as you have configured it. If I want to change this, and for example, if I wouldn't want the preview window, I can how can I disable it? Image view, it should be none, no view somewhere here. Empty view here. Okay. And now when I click on canvas size, there is no preview. It's probably not what you want, so let's configure this back and put it back. We had image viewer. You can put different things here, but there is usually one choice that is best. Okay, so the thing, it is similar for other commands. Maybe let's look at this next item. It is of type document-condition. So this will from the layer state extract a subdocument, and if that subdocument is of type raster image, then it will add these commands to the main menu. These 4 submenus, so the adjust, effect, PS filter and mask commands. The effect is that when a raster layer is selected, so the condition is met, then we have these 4 items in the main menu. And when we select a vector layer, they are not here. Instead, we have this object submenu. So you can see that there is another item that's also a condition, and this time the condition is met if the sub document, that means the selected layer, is of type vector image. And in this case we only have one item that is of type pop-up menu called object, and it has something inside. Let's look what it has inside. So this is the pop-up menu. It has as its child an item called document extract document part, and the part is extracted from current selection. It's not visible with this ID. That means that for this internal part, the current layer is extracted from the whole layered image, and just this one layer is presented to these internal commands. So here is a command for deleting an object. As you can see, this is an obsolete command because delete was redesigned, but the command still exists. Duplicate, but here is a command for transforming the object, and you can see here again we have the display configuration, document operation that contains the vector image transfer object, actually the document operation that applies scaling, rotation and translation to vector objects, and here we define again the viewer for the preview window. So this is how these various components of the applications are put together. If you wanted to create your own plugin for RealWorld Paint, then you would just do, for example, let's say you want to add your own effects that, for example, adds snow on objects, and then you would have to implement and add a document operation, and you will probably want to have some configuration for your effect. You would have to of course program it in C++ or another language that can interact with C++ code, and then you would add this DLL file to the folder of RealWorld Paint or the plugins folder, and it will then appear if it's programmed correctly in this list. You would add a new command somewhere in the menu, choose your own plugin, and if you wanted to have a preview, you would choose here how the preview should, or what kind of preview you want to have. If you, for example, make a plugin that works with animation, then you would probably want an animation viewer, and so this will allow you to integrate the plugin with the whole application in the way you see fit. So Lazda, how should I read your name? Laserhead has the question. So what's the question? We have so type the question and I will answer it when it appears. In the meantime, is there anything else of interest? So, what's here? This is a layer menu, the style. Maybe we can stop a while in this style menu. This uses a slightly different approach. It uses the layer image effect category commands, and it has slightly different configuration. You can see that of course it needs to know to which layer should the effect be added. Here is one of the categories of image or layer effects plugins, and here is a list of plugins in this category, and you can drag and drop these and it will affect the menu. Previously we had the 4 items in the main menu, and I moved 2 of them to the secondary, marked them as secondary, and they will now appear in the submenu. We have a comment from no, I won't read your name. Hello, thank you for making more videos to the RealWorld Paint. No problem. If you have any questions, you can of course ask at any time. So you can choose which plugins or which layer styles you want to have in this menu. Let's get back to it. Here is it. So let me move it back as it was. If you, by default, the items are visible, but you can move them to submenu when you move them to the secondary, and you can hide them altogether if you move them to the hidden section. Okay. And you can see we have an item for each category. I will probably redesign this menu in the final version. What else do we have? This is the create submenu. There is just one image, just one item that creates an animation via JavaScript. And this is the tools menu. That's not very interesting, and the help menu also. So let's get back to the root item, and instead of working with the menu, we will quickly look at the main window configuration. You can see that it's the root item is of type toolbar. We have already seen that before when we messed with this layers panel. So this toolbar actually represents these three main toolbars. You can see there are three here. Each of them has an ID, and each of them has a list of commands that represent the buttons in the menu. You can do whatever you want with them. Maybe one more thing, and that is when you go to manage layouts, you can see what layouts are installed, and before you start messing with them, you can save them, and if you destroy something, you can also always re-import them and delete the damaged layout. And maybe we currently have one layout for each document type, but let me for a while duplicate this layout. You can do it with this button. Let me change it. Let me just change this like this. Now we have two layouts that work with layered images. So let me reopen or recreate this document, and now when we have two layouts, this item appears in the right top corner of the menu, and it allows you to switch between compatible layouts. So our layouts are currently very similar because we have just duplicated one of them. But for example, if I change this one, it should work. Let me change it maybe a bit more. Maybe we have to just actually save them. Yeah. Now they differ in the width of this panel, and you can do more changes. You can change the items in the menu and the item, whatever is used here, and you can have two optimized layouts, one for example for raster images, one for vector images, and you can change between them. So that was just something extra some of you may find useful, but I personally don't need them. So let me delete this one and just work with the one of them. So where were we? Yeah, the toolbars, and here is the rest of the window. That means that from here these three toolbars are controlled by this section, and the rest of the window is controlled by this section here. And you can see that it uses the area splitter view plugin. So let me zoom in, and area splitter means that the area that is available is somehow split and into 2 or 4 parts, and each part can be configured independently. So this is split in the vertical direction, and it's adjustable, and this is the current width, and that means that this area splitter actually splits the window into 2, and this is the left part contains the layers panel, and the right part contains the rest of the window. You can see we have a command: created a main toolbar item pop-up menu and added save as item because that I use often. I wanted to add an item to the menu export layer, but it crashes. I can ask in the forum, but you are on the topic. So you want to add a command, let's say, to the main menu that would export the current layer. Let's try to do that. So let's go to menu configuration, pop-up menu. What is this? So let me, for example, duplicate this, save as, and we want to use we want to use document extract document part to work with just the current layer. So extract document part, then you leave this from current selection, but change this to layer, because that is the ID of the state that holds the currently selected layer. And then you use where is it? We should probably use a document operation here, and the document operation should be, where is it? Document save. Maybe you name it save current layer. Click OK. Let me draw something in the layer. Save current layer, and it should save the current layer like this. And if the current layer is a vector layer, it should work as well, but you can see that the default file type will be different, and in this case SVG will be the default. You may want to choose RealWorld vector image if you want to make sure that the vector image is saved without loss. I hope this works. It should work. So were you able to follow me while I was adding this save current layer command? I can show you once again how it looks like. We have extract document part, the first one. Extract document part from current selection. Here you have to type layer because that is how we access the layer. Then we choose document operation. Here we name our menu item. You can type description if you want to. You can change and choose an icon. I don't know, maybe this one. And then you use document save. Yeah, save current layer. But I think you already have this command here. It does the same. But you can see that you can do whatever you want. This should work too. But this is a different, this is a specialized operation actually. It exists as a specialized operation because it also does the importing, and the importing is slightly more complicated because there is this extra option that changes the size of the whole layered image when you import something that is bigger than the current layered image and so on. Okay, let's get back to this area splitter. So this main area splitter splits the window into these two parts, the layers panel and the rest of the window. And you can see the left part uses the tabs view type, and it has a single tab called layers, and inside that we already were. But here you can see also, for example, this one, you can hide the tab. And when I click OK, you do not see the layers tab anymore, and you save some space. If you are familiar with RealWorld Paint and you want this extra space and you will not be confused by what this means, you can do this and reconfigure the layout. You can still show and hide the panels, but in this case you won't be able to easily get it back and hide it. It's slightly more complicated, so I prefer to not have it hidden. So we already saw this is the toolbar, the tree and the context menu. So let me focus on this right part of the window, and this is here. So it's again an area splitter. This time it's this one. It's also a vertical splitter. On the right side we have tabs again. This time we have actually 4. Oh no, we have 3 tabs here. Editing, media and EXIF, and the EXIF tab is only visible if this condition is met. That means if a plugin is installed. Currently it's not installed, so the tab is not visible. The editing tab is quite complicated. As you can see, it has this as a sub view called document best layout. That is needed because this panel shows different things in different situations depending on the type of the layer. So we look at the layer state, and if it's a raster image, we show these panels. If it's a vector layer, we show different panels. If it's an image effect, we again show something different as configured here. And if it's a layered image, that means if it's a layer group, we don't show anything. So this is how it's configured. And in the middle part, we have something similar. We first extract the current layer, and then we again choose document best layout, and we show different views depending on the type of the layer. If it's a raster layer, then it's raster image 2D editor and toolbars with the drawing tools. If it's the vector layer, does not have a nice configuration, but if it's a vector image, then we show something else. What is this one? And when it's when you have an image effect selected, we again show something else. This one is for layered images, and this one, so it's something that does not even need to be here. It's something, probably some experiment from before. So this is how the layout is constructed. Maybe that's enough on this. If you have questions later, you can ask them. This toolbar is part of the configuration that we were in. You can just access this toolbar if you want to. It's toolbar with a command list and with some specialized commands, and you can see uses raster editor edit tools. This is the list of the tools, the IDs of the tools that are to be shown here. If I know that there is a crop tool, I've been working on it and updating it to work with vector images. It's not yet completely done, but when I edit here, a new tool appears in the toolbar, and you can now use the crop tool from vector layers. So in the beginning I promised you that we will configure a batch operation, and you should now be much better prepared for this than you were at the start. So when you click on this batch tab, then you can create a new batch operation. You can name it, for example, let's name it change image format. You can choose an icon, whatever, I don't know. What should we use? What should we use? I should add some more general purpose icons. Let me use this image icon. So you can choose a description. You should spend some time on this, but some disk, just to show you where it shows in the user interface. So the first thing we have to do is to choose what kind of documents we want to work with. So we want to work with something that is an image. If we choose layered image, if we choose just raster image, we won't be able to work, for example, with SVG images. When we choose vector image, we won't be able to work with JPEGs. When we choose layered image, we should be able to work with almost any image. If we keep it as it is, not set, the application will try to open any file it is able to open, and that because it supports binary data, it will open any file, and then it may fail, because if we open something as binary data and then we try to change it to JPEG, it won't be possible. So if we want to work with images, we should choose layered image. If we want to work with layered images, you can also further limit the kind of images you want to work with. So if you want to only work with, let's see, PNG files, then you should select raster image, but you can also, I think you should also type PNG, maybe just PNG. I don't know whether the asterisk dot is needed, I don't remember, we will see. And here we can choose an output folder. By default, the output folder is what is displayed here. It's located in your temporary documents folder. So let's leave it as it is. So these are the basics. And now we change to the execution tab. As you can see, we have a two-step sequence predefined. The second step is set to batch save result. So this is a specialized operation that is only available for batch operations, and it saves the result. This %batch %variable is actually a shortcut, or not shortcut, but just a variable for what you typed here. So if you leave it open, this is the folder that is shown here. So the output name will be the original name dot the original extension, or original the extension that arrives here. Currently we have no operation selected, so it will just copy the image. So let's say we want to change this to document set file format, and here we can change the format. We have PNG, so let's change it to JPEG, and here is the configuration of the JPEG. So let's try our operation. So the name we have chosen will appear here. Here is our description, it should be better. And when I double click a file here, it will be processed and the result appears here as .jpeg. So let me delete it. If I select multiple files here, and I should probably use this button, it will convert all the selected images to JPEG as we have configured. So that was easy. Let me configure and change this operation a bit. So instead of document set file format, I will now choose display configuration. We have already seen display configuration when we were messing with the canvas operation, image canvas. So it has more settings. Let me change the dialog caption, change file format. Let me choose the icon we have chosen before. We were using this. So this is the caption of the dialog window and the icon that will appear there. So here we will use our, where is it, document set file format operation, and we won't use a preview because it's useless. And here we can choose that image JPEG. So what happens when we press the start now? As you can see that here we have a dialog that has the JPEG image pre-selected because we have selected it before, but we can change the quality, we can change the chroma subsampling, we can turn on arithmetic encoding, we can choose whether to remove metadata, update the metadata, or use the original. So these are the options of the JPEG encoder. If we choose GIF or GIF, the option changes. So when I click OK, all these files that were selected are changed to .gif. And you can see that the dialog window was only shown for the first processed image, and the settings were remembered. So when I click again, and this time choose JPEG, all will be converted to JPEG. So there is this combo box shows you the batch operations you have installed or created yourself. This doesn't work yet. It's just a link to the web. I will probably upload more batch operations there, but you can see we have this arrow here, and here is the list of recently used settings. When we have a batch operation with a single step using the display and configuration command or plugin, it keeps a history of recently used settings, and when we click here, it will show change image format, that's our name, dash GIF image, and that is a name generated by the converter. And when I click on start now, there won't be any display, any configuration dialog displayed. Okay. When I choose just this original item and click on start, it will be displayed. Let me change, for example, a BMP image. And now we have this BMP options added to the list of recently used configurations. So let me show you something more complicated. Let's create another batch operation and let's call this one save layers. We will all work with layered images, and this time we want to take a layered image and save each layer as a separate file. So we will use, you can probably guess what it will be. It will be the document-extract document part operation. And we will extract document part not from the current selection. We have no selection because we are in the batch operation. There is no state for this. So we will choose all available parts, and the internal operation will be, this will be slightly more complicated. We will use the where is it? Yeah, it was selected, so I didn't see it. We will see this batch-save result here, and we will remove it from this sequence. So instead of performing two steps, we will perform just one step that will consist of extracting the part, but for each part, and here we will save each layer. But if we leave it as it is, this will overwrite, probably, maybe we will try it. And let's try it as it is. Let's try it as it is. We need some layered image. Do we have any layered images? Looking up. Let's look here. Media. Let's try this one. Will anything happen actually? Processing failed. That's not good. Probably I did not configure this correctly. Layered image. Let me try it. Let me create a test image. So this will be the one layer, and another raster layer. This one, let's make it red. So this will be our test image. Saving my projects. We were in. Let's go to test data. Okay, and name layers. So this will be our test image. Test data. Layers. Okay, it failed. It's okay. So why did it fail? I have probably forgotten something, but I don't know what it was. Maybe use document save for a while instead. See what happens. It will ask us where to save it. That's not what we want. And it will ask us twice because we have two layers. So that's good. But why does not the batch save result work? Maybe we should do sequence here. That was not what I wanted. Sequence, and let's first choose file format. Let's say we want to save them as PNG images and then use the batch save result. Okay. It failed again. I don't remember. This is a bit embarrassing, but I will get to it. Okay, I will cheat a bit. I will start icon editor and I have already something like this pre-configured here. It should be similar to extract images from icon. What do we have here? Oh, we have a JavaScript, that's not nice. What else do we have? Extract icons from application, maybe that will be the one. Extract document, sequence. We have a transformation here, okay. You have to copy the document to be able to save it. That's not nice. Okay, let's duplicate this one. Sequence, transformation, document, copy. Okay. And will it work now? No. What else is different? Document copy and file format. It's for icons. Maybe I have changed something somewhere I was not aware of. Why shouldn't it work? Let's try this. Star image. Oh, finally. But we only have one of the layers. We would have to configure it a bit more. index. Let's use index here. Okay, delete this. Okay, now it works as it should. So I don't know why it wasn't working before. I will probably investigate, but anyway, if we want to save every layer of a layered image as a separate image, we can do it like this. We probably do not have to have this sequence right here, but whatever. We can have the document, extract document part selected directly, because we have only one step, it doesn't matter too much. So we extract every part of the layered image, and then we do this sequence of operation. We first convert this image to a raster image, then we set the image format to PNG. We could probably experiment and see what happens if we use the display configuration here inside. Command set file format. Okay, let's see what happens. It will ask us to choose a file format. Okay, it works. Or does it? Probably yes. So let's get back. We convert the layer to a raster image, then change the file format and then save it, and we used indexed here instead of the name variable because we want to have each layer named differently. Well, it makes sense to me, because how would I save a vector without conversion? Yeah, it will be weird, but this operation will of course convert everything to raster image and save it as PNG or whatever we select here. But there is nothing that should prevent us to just save the vector layers as vectors. Why it didn't work? Probably something internal. Maybe the document. I will have to investigate it. We can try to. What happens if we choose layered image here? Let's try. It still works. Let's see. Forgive. We can try with something else. I don't know what's in this file. What happens if we use SVG? It will generate something. Here is the it is an SVG file, but it contains a PNG image embedded, so it's not very useful. What about the other layer? But this one it's also a raster image. Okay, so it would be nice if it saved the other the vector layers as SVGs. Maybe it could, maybe possible. I don't know. Let me. No. If we use just the copy document as before, will it stop working? No, it still works. But now we don't have the extension. It's original, that's not interesting. That's not what I wanted. Yeah, now it's a proper SVG file. So I don't know why it didn't work before. Probably because now it works. The extension is wrong, but that's not a problem. How does it differ from what we had before? I don't think it's different. Maybe just this index here. So now it should save vector layers. Let me remove this and just copy document and save the result. That's what I wanted to do initially, because now it fails. Okay, so something is not working as it should. Anyway, so you can process a file by double-clicking it here, or you can select it here and then press the start button, or you can have it, you can select some files in file manager and then drag it on the top part of this window and it will be processed with the currently selected operation. Are there any questions regarding the batch configuration of the batch operations? If you want to apply multiple effects and do not want these specialties with to do this specialty with individual layers, then you can add them here as we had our new change image format operation. If we create, let's configure create, and just, for example, add, I don't know, bevel, and then drop shadow. You can create a batch operation like this. The safe result should be the last one, and then it may work with this, but let's see what it does. It fails with a layered image because we cannot apply this raster image bevel directly on a raster image because it only works with single directly the raster images. If we want to do is, then we should open the images as a raster image, and you can see that when you do this, the images that are not compatible with the selected document type will not be shown. So it should work with this one. You can see that it added a bevel effect and there is a small shadow. And if we select an operation that can work with layered images, they will be shown here. Okay, I think I have talked for too long today. If there are any more questions, I will answer them. Otherwise, I will end this stream and we will meet again in 3 weeks as usual. I hope to be closer to the final release in 3 weeks. I'm currently working on finalizing all these little details, removing bugs. You have already seen what was added, these new icons, new ways to delete things, compatibility of the crop with layer images. No questions now, okay. Fine. So, okay, thanks for watching and see you in 3 weeks. Goodbye.